What up, Pittsburgh Steel fans? Matty P here with Shannon White for another episode of the Steelers Global Perspective. Now, Shannon, since the announcement of Arthur Smith, and maybe you and I have talked about it at some point this offseason already, but since the appointment of Arthur Smith, I felt a little bit uneasy about the Steelers player out of Michigan State, Cam Hayward's younger brother, Connor Hayward, because even though Connor Hayward has played well in Atlanta in the preseason game that they had last year and the year before when they played in Atlanta where he scored his first touchdown, I just kind of never really heard Arthur Smith say anything about, someone could pull up and tell me that he said this about Connor Hayward, but he kind of seems a bit like the forgotten man. Meanwhile, the Steelers are signing different types of tight ends, left, right, and center. This week they added Isaiah Gathings, and as you said to me before we went on air, that's a guy that's a converted wide receiver. But Miko Pruitt is more of an H-back than he really is a tight end. And Connor Hayward to date has been more of an H-back than he has been a tight end, and we're hoping he'll be a fullback. But when you look at it, he's not necessarily a traditional fullback either. So I guess it's an odd thing to say because it's Cam's brother, and Cam does everything to include him on. I'm always hearing, I went to dinner with Cam Hayward, and Connor was there. And Connor Hayward had dinner with Russ that first time with Connor was there. So, you feel like they're playing the PR game a little bit. But, I just can't help shake the feeling that he kind of feels like an odd man out, and I hate that. But they've obviously got a couple of other fullbacks on the roster right now, which they should do at this time of year. That makes a lot of sense. But what's your response when I ask the question, is Cam Hayward? Oh, he's not Cam Hayward. Is Connor Hayward the odd man out?
Well, this year there's definitely more competition. I really like Connor Hayward. I was the guy that when they drafted him, I said, this is the guy that just does anything you need. He's going to play special teams. He's going to block. He might not be great at any one thing, but he's going to give you everything he's got, and he's really, really smart. And if you look when he was in college, a lot of the big plays they generated with the Michigan State Spartans is he had a key kick-out block or a block downfield because he was smart and he plays to the whistle.
Yeah.
I said last year I wanted him to just be an H-back. I don't really consider him a tight end because to me a tight end has to have the ability to be in line at some point.
Yeah.
And he's too small. He's 6 foot tall and 200 and whatever he weighs, 30. He's more like a running back than he is a tight end. So I'd like to see him be strictly an H-back.
Yeah.
/ fullback. I think that when they sign Pruitt, as you say, they're basically the same type player. Both I would call H-backs.
Yep.
But Pruitt can play inline tight end.
Yeah, totally. And, but you even just look at his body shape.
And he's bigger than Connor.
Yeah, he's 2 inches taller. He's 6 foot.
Yeah, and he's also more powerful. He's a more powerful blocker.
And he's got a good 10 to 20. I think it's about 20 pounds.
Yeah, every bit of it. But I mean, I like Connor Hayward. He's the kind of guy you want on the team. He's the kind of guy that's going to give you everything he's got on special teams. Yeah. I don't know how good Pruitt is on special teams. When you're not a prime player, you have to specialize somewhere else.
Just look up the special team snaps while you're talking to Pruitt.
I think that Hayward got the advantage there. He also has
he's faster, and he's much faster than Pruitt is.
And he also has the advantage of having a big brother named Cameron, who the joke was, he said, well, I'll look at signing this extension, but I want Connor to get an extension too. Now, I don't know how much truth there was in all that, but I guarantee you that when they signed Derek Watt at one point, knowing that we don't even use a fullback very often at all, a lot of that was, hey, let's keep TJ happy, and you never know what will happen with JJ.
But it's funny that you brought up Derek. It's funny you brought up Derek, though, because even though the Chargers used him a little bit more than the Steelers, but even though the Chargers didn't use him as much as they could have, Connor Hayward could fit the role of what Derek Watt actually could do in the passing game that we never saw with the Steelers, which I always found perplexing because when he was used in the passing game for the Chargers and as a receiver, particularly in the red zone, Derek Watt, could make a play, but the Steelers never used him like that,
No.
which used to frustrate the what out of me, right? Haywood, I see it when they picked Haywood. I'm like, yes, they're finally going to do it. I haven't really seen it.
Well, I think a lot of that was Matt Canada, his limitations. It was, I think this year will be the barometer. We will see how they can use these guys. They brought in the new kid, Gaithings, I think is his last name.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit before there, as you mentioned. He is a good speed, converted receiver. He's a guy that, let's say, Freiermuth with his concussion history, he's going to be counted on to get maybe wide receiver 2 like numbers in this offense. If he goes down, I think Rodney Williams, who's another converted wide receiver, would probably beat out Gaithings. But Gaithings could be on the practice squad.
Yeah.
And
he could be the Rodney Williams of last year on the.
Yeah, because Rodney Williams is a great special teams player. And again, that gives him that added value.
So MyCole Pruitt, I looked it up. The most amount of special team snaps he played was in 2019 when he was with Tennessee at 53%. He's played 32% in his rookie year. He played they don't have a combined number, but 20% in 2016 when he was with Chicago and 16% when he was with Minnesota. I'd have to sit there and compare the number of snaps overall, but it's roughly that 18%. 32% in 2017, 27% in 2018. I said the 53% in 2019, 31% 2020, still with Tennessee. 2021 with Tennessee, 23%. 2022, 23%. Last year, played 26% of special teams versus Connor Haywood, that's 65% and 55% throughout his career so far. So
that's a big advantage for Connor.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And like you said, Pruitt's more a little bit faster than an offensive lineman. He's not really. You don't want too many of them guys out there on a coverage team.
I still, unless you're trying to unlock Darnell in the receiving game, and I kind of said this when, and I did say it was Connor Haywood, out of a job when I did the MyCole Pruitt reaction video, but like I kind of feel I don't really get the MyCole Pruitt thing other than he's familiar with Arthur Smith. I don't really and cheap. To me, he'd be a great guy to have as a veteran on the practice squad, but I don't think this guy should be on the 53.
And it might be the case. He might be brought in
True
to share his knowledge of.
I feel like I'm really mean when I say
that. And he's a professional.
True.
That you can count on him. And so if you bring a guy like that up from the practice squad, you know what he's going to give you.
And I'm like, part of me feels a bit mean and be like, that guy doesn't deserve a roster spot.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
It doesn't.
I read that coming out of OTAs that Washington, they're actually looking at him on some seam routes.
Well, I've seen some clips. Some clips of him
and get him in moving and with that's what we were begging for last year. And I think that especially near the goal line or in the red zone, I think we're going to see more of that.
Yeah, I the other thing that works for Connor Haywood too is he's on a rookie contract. Yes. And they're probably going to be keen to see that out. That probably works in his favor. I want him to turn into something. I think he can be such a Swiss Army knife weapon. And as long as he's willing to continue to play special teams, I think. And he's a good bloke. It's a good cult.
Well, how many first downs on them sweeps did he have last year? I remember one big fourth down he converted on a sweep. Because he's very good for short yardage.
He only had 8 first downs last year. But
a lot of them was on sweeps and stuff, I remember.
Correct.
Yeah.
But also, every time he threw in he caught 23 from 34 balls last year at an average of 7.3 yards a reception.
Yeah.
He didn't have a TD, but he caught 67% of the passes thrown his way, so over 2/3. per target, his yardage was 4.9, which is very, very healthy in the Matt Canada offense, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And
but he has really good hands.
Correct. And like he didn't end up having, he only had one rushing attempt. That was that fourth down that got stifled. Yeah. But like that's not bad in that offense, 167 yards. I mean, if he can get 167 yards with that offense last year, he can get 300 yards with that offense this year. And 300 yards from Connor Haywood could be epic.
Oh, yeah. They'll take it. They'll take it for sure.
And he'd be really, and also it's exotic because you can put him on there with Warren. You can put him on there with Harris. I think there's sets you could put all three of them on the field together in good freaking night. Like what we talked about in one of our other shows about with Justin Fields and doing something creative there, right?
Yep.
Like, so we'll have to see. As I said, I've just got this. There's something inside that makes me a little bit uneasy about Connor Haywood. Like, it's not. How do I put it? Like, I think in all likelihood he's on the Steelers roster, but I'm not going to sit here with my jaw on the floor if he wasn't. But to me, that's an Arthur Smith thing. But also, Mike Tomlin loves him, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think he'll earn it. I mean, again, because I don't see his attitude changing, and you want those guys on your team.
Totally. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's segments of the Steelers Global Perspective. I got to say, it's a pleasure, as always, to talk Steelers with you, Shannon. I absolutely love it. But you guys let us know in the comments what you think about Connor Haywood and, whether he can stay on the Steelers roster. Shannon, before we absolutely close it out, is there anything that you think Steelers fans should be looking out for as they go through the next phase of the OTAs? Is there anything that people should be trying to keep their eye on when we get these little clips and highlights and photos and all this sort of stuff?
Well, I think they're going to continue to be creative and try a lot of different combinations. And I think that'll give them a starting point for where training camp hits. And then we'll see who they really are is going to start out as the starters. But just kind of keeping an eye on, because they're starting to put in different aspects of Arthur Smith's offense. And so I'll follow Nick Fireball and certain guys because they do a daily review of what happened. And
yeah, he and Alan Saunders do it together.
Alan Saunders,
it's a good one. They had a good one. They actually talked about something really interesting about the kickoff.
Yeah, I heard about that, where the kicker can't go past the 50 till the ball's caught in the NFL version.
No, something different, that they'd lined up the defensive line to block instead. Because
there's going to be teams doing some exotic things, to try to take advantage of this rule. So it's going to change it and make it interesting, at least.
Totally.
Just kind of keep your ears and eyes open, and you'll hear some things, and you'll say, "Wonder why they're doing that," and then it'll make sense. So I like when we get those little behind the scenes eyewitness accounts from those guys, and that kind of lets us know that what we're expecting is going to come to fruition.
I love it. Well, that is Sean's going to have the final word. As always, go Steelers.